Cool. Hey, Paolo, how you doing?
Good evening. How are you? I'm really
very,
good.
very, very well, thank you. I'm so excited to actually get you on this podcast. It's unbelievable how excited I am.
No, I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me.
No
Yeah,
worries.
it's gonna be cool. It's quite chilly here in usually called sunny South Africa, but I think autumn is creeping up on us. So yeah, it's a chilly evening. But yeah, I'm happy to be doing this.
Nice. So, for those that don't know, who are who are you, and what are you up to?
In a very quick nutshell, I am a South African ex-national player. Played in the 2004 Athens Olympic Games. So those that have their calculators out can almost guess my age. That was way back when I was young and fit. Yeah,
Behave.
I'm currently FIH Academy Level 4 coach. I'm now an educator for the academy as well. And yeah, I coach at the University of Johannesburg.
So, simple question just to get started. How did you get into coaching?
Well, like most students, I got into coaching to have a little bit of pocket money,
Yeah.
something to use on a Friday or Saturday evening. Yeah, that's how I got into coaching, and yeah, it's one of those things. It's a bug that bites and it doesn't let go. So this has been going on for, geez, like I don't know how 20 years, 20 odd years. Yeah, it's been that long.
So, what's your highlight then? 20 years of coaching. You got to have some pretty cool highlights in there.
Yeah. Oh well. I mean, there've been some local competitions that we've won. Provincial stuff that I've won, and I think the highlight though was being at the Youth Olympic Games um, in uh, in Argentina in 2018, and we made it to the semifinals. And I think we were the first South African team to make it to a semifinal for a global event.
That's amazing.
So
And
that was pretty something big.
that's really cool. And that was in the fives format, is that right? The Youth Olympics.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, the fives, hockey fives is how the Youth Olympics go, and I know I've just seen some stuff on social media that Europe are already getting ready for the next Youth Olympic Games. The under 16 groups are getting together. I saw that the Swiss are already training for that, and yeah, it's insane. It's hockey, but you guys you're a cricket playing country, so it's literally hockey that is T20.
Yeah.
So it's fast. There's no time to think. There's no time to breathe. But yeah,
Do you think it's going to have a big place in the kind of global circuit, or do you think it will stay as kind of a slightly smaller version of the sport?
I know that FIH had said something about maybe an under 23 World Cup.
Hmm.
I think for hockey in terms of bringing in money and media and a short format that non-hockey watchers and non-hockey community people can look in and watch it, and just it's just really really explosive. So I do think there's a place for fives in our community. As you look at hockey globally, I think there's a very big place for it. um, but as we see that our calendar is becoming so packed, every year there's more and more, and happy to do it, but the challenge will be finding a right time, and when in the 3 or 4 year cycles do we put in fives, and can we ever get fives to be for the senior players?
Yeah, I think the calendar is definitely a pretty busy thing right now. Like,
Yeah.
I remember when I was talking to Willars on a previous podcast, like the calendar for the senior guys is mad with Pro League and now with
Hmm.
COVID trying to like pack everything into such a small space of time. Like
Yeah.
no idea how you'd fit that in. But I guess for nations which aren't in Pro League and everything else, actually there's probably a really good argument for it.
Yeah, and but you think about how many countries are, I'll use this word very loosely, allowing their pro players to play indoor and outdoor
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
already. So now we've got those two sports or the differences, and now we're bringing in fives. I think for the emerging communities, emerging countries, and that I think fives is absolutely incredible because you can take it anywhere.
Hmm.
It's four players on the field and a goalkeeper, and that's how you roll. So I know, like for South Africa, I think it's going to have a huge impact in us getting hockey into the rural areas, very previously disadvantaged areas. I think everyone there can play fives. I think for Africa, it's going to be huge, and I think it's a way of introducing the sport and not needing 20 people to be available to play.
Yeah, definitely, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
So we've worked out how you got into coaching. So FIH educator, have being an FIH educator as well. It is a really cool thing to be involved in. How did you get into it?
Well, I met Mike Joyce and Michelle Keenan 2017, I think it was. I was doing my level 3 with the FIH. And one night at dinner, Michelle was in my ear. Paulo, you need to think about becoming an educator. And I was like, no, absolutely not. I am a coach. I coach players. Um, and you call over, it's like, Mike, please come sit down. I'm having a tough time trying to convince Paulo. And even that night, I was still a big no. They spoke to me again the next day, and I was like, guys, I'm not feeling it. I really want to coach. I want to be on the side of the field. That's where that fuels me. That fuels all the fire in me. Being on the side of the pitch and having that impact on players. Yeah, 3 years later, here I am, having been to India, to educate coaches in India. Yeah, so it was that conversation that started, and obviously it was just like that little seed that was planted. I thought about it and I thought about it, and Michelle said, "Paulo, this way you say you want to spread hockey around the world and quality hockey around the world. This is how you do it. You educate a coach, and that coach can then touch more players than you'll ever be able to touch." And I think, yeah, that was it. And yeah, so now I educate coaches. It's massive fun. It's huge fun, and I didn't really understand or know that I would have such a big love for touching coaches' lives as much as I love, being in the lives of players and trying to get them to the next level of their careers.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, it's having that connection. Like you say, you're helping spread hockey globally and infusing more people, and it's really addictive. Like that India trip will still stay with me as
Yeah.
one of the all-time greatest trips I will ever go on. I feel. For those that don't know, Polo, myself, and Sven, the dream team, went out to India October last year, and it was the craziest trip ever. 85 coaches in 7 days or something mad like that. But the buzz you get from, and particularly even with the online stuff, I feel like the buzz you get and the connection you get with those coaches is pretty special because you get a really cool connection with them.
Yeah, I feel like, and I start every coaching course that I do, I start with, guys, I learn so much from every single connection I make with any hockey person. So us being in this room, or now we're educating online, um, being virtually connected, I learned so much from every single coach that I come in contact with. So even then in India, there were one or two times we learned things how not to do things or never to do them again, right?
Yep.
But then there were also some really massive moments of, okay, cool, that I will take. And I'm never shy to tell coaches, like, please understand that idea I'm stealing, and I'm gonna let it whirl over in my mind for a little bit. But I think you're onto something really special. And just being able to share and see the people share with each other and making those connections. And I think, I don't know, people don't realize that when you educate, it's always people from such different backgrounds,
Oh yeah, for sure.
either coaching backgrounds or, where they come from and where they live. And watching them connect and, build those relationships, that we are leaving that country, that province, that state in just a slightly better place than when we arrived.
Yeah.
And like you said, that is really addictive.
So what skills do you think you've taken from coaching into kind of your educator role then?
Well, I think people say it's been my personality my whole life, but the connections that you make with people, and I find it easy to make connections or make friends. So that side of the sport is what I think I've carried on from being a player to coaching and now to being an educator. It's just making those connections and finding the human in the coach and connecting with that element. I mean, when we went to India, here you are from the UK, we've got Sven from Holland, myself from South Africa, never met. Obviously, I think we all Googled each other when we were put up.
Quick Instagram search.
Who is this? Okay, cool. I'm excited now. So even then, we connected. We didn't have much time, so we arrived on the day we had our first session.
Yeah.
And whoever's going to be watching this, coaches, administrators, players alike, like just imagine
performance directors,
okay, here's your new mate, go on, do it. But we made them look, that look so effortless and seamless, because, and again, through the FIH, I've met some really genuine people. I don't think a lot of people that are within the FIH and working with the academy, I think we're just there to serve. And that's one thing that you pick up from everyone, just good morning, how are you? Okay, what are we doing? How are we doing it? Everyone's just willing to share and willing to listen. So yeah, you say that the whole trip was incredible, but I feel like our first 2 hours of it could have gone anyway.
Oh yeah. Anyway.
But we were all there to serve, so it made it look so easy. And even the coaches were like, "Oh man, how long have you guys known each other for?" We're like, "About an hour and a half."
Yeah, well, 15 minutes ago.
Yeah. So it's lovely to work with people that have the same passion and have the same vision and keep adding to your own vision. So yeah, so working for the academy has been just a life-changing experience, really.
Do you think it's enhanced your coaching?
Oh, very much so. Very much so. Like, yes, you can. I've done the coaching courses, but being around great minds and sharing ideas with people that have had different experiences add to what I already know. And I just feel like every time, like I'm looking at this computer or on the field, I feel like I'm learning all the time. And yeah, that's helped me immensely. And yeah, just a pity about, the COVID and us being in lockdown, because I feel like this year was, an Olympic year has got that buzz around, especially with hockey, because it's like our Christmas every 4 years.
Yeah.
And that has been moved. And yeah, I guess people will have their own ideas and opinions on how this will affect Tokyo 2020 being now 2021. Are teams going to be more prepared or less prepared?
Yeah, that's a really tough one. I think it's definitely going to open opportunities for younger players. So maybe guys that were maybe thinking, maybe 2020 might be a bit soon. 2021, 12 months of additional prep. Like, players can make huge leaps and bounds. So I don't, whether that makes a difference from a tactical side and like a team bonding side, because there could be all these new faces chucked in. But I think there's going to be
Yeah.
some really young, exciting talent coming through for sure.
Yeah, but you think about now they've had this break, so that disconnect how, and I think this is a huge challenge for coaches, and I would love to see them write books and documents and papers about this, because this is the first time, especially for us in the hockey world, that this has happened to us. And you work on those 4-year cycles. So I'd love to see what the head coaches, administrators, all those guys, what are they going to learn out of this pandemic and this disconnect from players. I'm talking about people that can step up in a year, but this year has, I know now in South Africa, it's been 6.5, 7 weeks of not being allowed out, during the lockdown. So how does that impact your anxiety as a player? Do you feel that you are prepared, less prepared? Are you actually welcoming the break and making like some mental notes and learning from yourself? But we'll see next year, and I'm very excited about those Olympic Games.
Yeah, the Olympics is just something which, I don't know, anybody who has any slight interest in sport, it's just like you say, it's Christmas. Like, even not just for the hockey, but just watching all the sports.
Yep.
And just like, I'm like 2 weeks, I'm locked into the telly. I'll see you I'll see you when it's done. Like, don't talk to me. I'm watching this, and you get so into like random sports. You're like, oh yeah, I'm now a
Exactly. I
pole
was
vault
going to ask you that.
expert.
How many new sports do you become a fan to?
Oh.
You're like, oh no, I know that guy, that Brazilian pole vaulter. That's my dude. And you're like, what do I know about pole vaulting? Nothing. But yeah, I
And
see
when
that.
when they don't get it quite right, you're like, oh, come on, man.
I'm shooting, 50-meter shooting. Like, why am I watching this? Archery. I'm watching, and I'm like, yeah. And you can't call me. You can't. I'm like, wait, whoa.
You just turn it on at like 6 a.m. and you're like, oh, cool. Like some random sports on, here we go. So moving kind of away from the educator and coach side, I think one thing which I was really keen to talk to you about was kind of the role of the striker and how important they are, and kind of what you think is kind of key traits, personality or skill wise or mentally, that makes like a world leading striker. Because for me, I think we can think of the guys that are top of their game at the moment. You look at Lida Vavelton for the women, you look at Sam Ward for the men, like you look at these guys and they just seem to be almost playing a different game. And I just wanted to kind of get your views on, like, what do you think makes a world leading striker in the first place?
I think you touched on it. I think you spoke about mentality and that grit and determination, and that it's just, I feel like when I played, it was more about an attitude than actually stick and ball, right? So and I know a few of us would just, and when I was doing my research for the workshop I did last week, the goal scoring workshop I did with FIH, I called a couple of strikers that I know from yesteryear, and Peter Coutier still holds the record for the most goals scored by a woman. Was talking about what made you better than everyone else. I've got my own opinions. I want to hear from other people, and it really was what stood out with all of that is just mentality and like the want. And sometimes you don't know how you got there. There are like 150,000 skills that you can use to put the ball in the back of the net. How do you make that split-second decision be the perfect decision? What skill to use? Your leading, your connections with the people around you. How do you will the ball onto your stick? And yeah, I think for me, it's mainly that personality of a striker is, unpopular opinion here is that I feel that you need to be a little arrogant as a striker. You need to want the pressure and the weight of this game to be on your own shoulders, and know that you are going to be the one that's going to make a difference. I used to look at the scoreboard and like when I was playing, and I was like, I haven't made an impact there, so I'm not making an impact here. So
Yeah.
I'd press well later in my career when I was smarter and I could understand angles and lines and timing of going at defenders. I'm like, I'm pressing well, I'm connecting well with everyone. We could be 3-4-0 up, but I'm just looking at the scoreboard. My name is not there, and I feel like I haven't made a big enough impact. So it's just that slight bit of arrogance and wanting to be the difference between winning and losing.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about in European leagues, they play the playoffs. They need to be talking about me in the next team talk.
Yeah, definitely.
The coach needs to be coding, what is Paulo doing? And that's how I talk to my strikers. I'm like, are you making an impact? And who are you making this impact to? If the other team is not thinking or worrying about you, then I don't know if you're doing your job as a striker.
And is that what
obviously,
the strikers said that you spoke to, that they felt like they just had that kind of arrogance about them and that kind of
and the want
taking the weight
for the they wanted the pressure on the shoulders. They wanted to go out there and be the difference, and right now with the drag flick, you've got many defenders that are the difference on the scoreboard, right? Because they're the drag flickers, most defenders. But you can score your 2, your 3, but me as a striker, I mean, there are plenty of clips that you can watch of someone like Billy.
Mm-hmm.
When Buck is playing, you can see that he wants to be in that zone. Hertzberger, 2 really massive men, right? But how they move in the D is unbelievable. And the experience they have, obviously the timing of arriving at the right time, arriving in the right moment, in the right space, and ready for to finish. And that's Michael, you can train technical skills over and over and over and over, but if you don't have that determination to be someone special or someone different, I think you might be a midfielder then.
Yeah, and
with all the skills that you have.
And again, I think that kind of mentality comes back again. I come back to Wardy because I think he's just got that stuff. I don't care if you're between me and the goal, the ball's going there, and there's just that it's almost no regard. And I think if you haven't got that, like you say, how can you possibly beat the defender who's going to be equal? Who's going to want to be as competitive as you to stop you scoring.
Yeah.
So you have to be extra in that aspect. Same as a goalkeeper in those aspects then, surely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And looking at, I think, I worked with Sam Rowe on the goal scoring workshop. I think we went through, not exaggerating, probably about 60 clips. Really quality clips, and we wanted 16 only. So we'd go through it over and over, like, what does this one give us? And we're there just like oogling at goal scoring because it's my number one passion, and I truly believe that it's going to be the reason we get more money into our sport. We don't score goals, you're not interesting anyone that's watching.
Exactly.
How many games have we watched? Yes, the hockey nerds will love a 0-0 final against Holland and Belgium.
For the purists, you're like, oh, it's great pressing, really good technical.
This is brilliant. You're looking at the technical stuff. You're looking tactically how they're changing between the chuckers. But if I'm sitting here with a group of mates, they want to see goals. They want to see that ball hit as hard as you can past the goalkeeper's left ear into the net. So strikers that can do that, and goalkeepers that want to prevent that. And and goalkeeping has changed so much in the last, I think, 5 to 15 years.
Definitely.
Goalkeepers aren't the just the lazy kid at the back in foam. It's pure athletes that just want to do what they can for the success of their team.
Yeah. I don't know, let me just get that right. So what would you say then to kind of young athletes then who are wanting to be strikers to develop their game, because that's quite a hard thing to say. Well, you need to be mentally kind of
Yeah.
ahead. What can you? Because you might see something in a player and be like, they've got something. Like, what could coaches do to then really drive that forwards?
I think what gives you that confidence, firstly, is knowing that you are technically sound. So being in an area and a defender coming at from your right side, and you have to hit that backhand. And for your viewers that are from Oceania, it's the tomahawk. So if you have to hit the ball there, you need to know that you can, and that's what gives you that confidence. If the ball is coming at you knee height, I know that with one touch I can control the ball and then do the next thing. So hours and hours, time on task, time on the turf, time on perfecting every little bit of skill that you might need in a circle, and even outside the circle, the elimination skills that you'll need to get yourself into the circle. The passing skills that you'll need to connect with other players. If you start getting those right um, at a young age, and this is right the challenge to coaches. If you give me 20 players that are all technically sound, then I've got something really special to work with. Then I can go crazy with tactics, right? Because I've got the
Definitely.
people that can execute. So as a striker, I think being able to execute receiving skills, passing skills, finishing skills, that's what gives you that confidence. And then once you have that confidence, you start scoring more goals. You're like, wait a minute, I'm really damn good at this.
Definitely.
And once you get that, it becomes a drug, because you just want to feel that over and over and over. And that feeling of you being the one that put the ball in the back of the net, absolutely outrageous feeling, right? Um, I know midfielders that I've played with and have worked with, they say they get that feeling from assisting. Did you see that pass? And as the strikers, forget your arrogance for 0.2 of a second and run up to that midfielder and say, that was amazing.
I
That
love
pass.
it
How
when
did you find me? How did you see me? How you make that connection and you guys become like best friends?
you see a striker score an absolute worldie goal, and the first thing they do is they point at the guy that gave him the assist. They're like, "That was you. That was your
Yeah,
goal." And
yeah. That was all you.
I love that. That's so cool to see.
I make the lead, but you saw me and you could deliver.
Mm.
And I know as strikers we demand a lot from defenders and the midfield to give us the ball we wanted. But when that connection happens, it's just out of this world.
Definitely.
So yeah, to just wrap up your question, I think to get to being mentally ahead of everyone, you need that confidence slash arrogance. But to get there, you need to be technically sound.
Yeah. So we're gonna go. I think one last point, which I kind of want to bring up. One of the guys watching now has said, "Goalkeepers, the unsung hero of the team. Strikers get the credit most of the time." Uh, Yeah, agreed. I mean, I'm going to be biased, having been a goalie, so my theory is always going to be the keepers are the best, most important person on the field. So Jenny, I'm with you on that. But if you've only got goalies, you ain't scoring goals. It's not much of a game. So
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, they say defense win championships, right? And strikers win matches. But I'm like, well, you know, we are kind of the difference between 3 points and 1 point. So in a league, you need to be scoring goals to get the 3 points ticking.
yeah,
Yes, we do appreciate keepers. Like in my team, my best mates were. You'd think they were the midfielders that would give me the ball. No, they were the goalkeepers that I would call them up. I'm going down to the turf. Do you want to come down and just be my target for an hour?
yeah. Oh,
So yeah,
Jenny,
so getting.
Jenny said he's a defender. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so those
No, we
guys,
understand.
they're
They got that special bond, right?
yeah. But I also think like strikers, you've got an opportunity. If, like you say, I think people need to be more kind of pushy with their goalies and be like, and goalies pushy with strikers and be like, look, let's arrive to the turf like 5-10 minutes early and just grab a crate of balls and smash 1,000 balls at me. I'm going to get better as a goalie, and you're going to get better as a striker. And then you're going to muck around with things like, well, if you feed it to me here, I'm just going to smash it back to you, and then you got to like pick off these like strange rebounds and all those sort of stuff. And I think people have got a responsibility onto themselves to then make themselves better in those aspects.
Yeah, I mean, Mark, I don't know how many times the teams that you work with have time on the turf together, but I know I've got 2 sessions with my varsity team. In those 4 hours in a week, there's no way that I can impart 20 years of knowledge to you as a player, right? But I will give you the blueprint. What you do with it will make you the player that you become. You can go through varsity 3-4 years and come out, yes, a better player, slightly better player. But if you want to start challenging your peers in the world, you need to be putting time in by yourself. And this is also why I quit my 9 to 5, so I can be available to the players 24/7 almost, for 12 hours in a day. If you need me, I'll be at the turf.
Yeah.
You come through, coach, between classes, I only have 40 minutes. Let's do it. We can work. Give me 100 balls. You'll be finished in 30 minutes, just a one-on-one session.
Yeah.
You'll be crawling back to your car to go to class. But, all we can do is just to give them the tools. If they don't want to take it further, they don't.
Right, let's hit some questions. So, this is from Instagram. So this is, sorry if I say this wrong, Dante Vanini 15. The 15 is obviously important on that. Any tips on analysis of yourself, like figuring out what you need to improve on? And he loves the podcast as well. Excellent news. We like him. You can.
Fantastic question. Yeah, that's a really good question. I think, as coaches, we also learn to self-reflect. So, they always parents that are watching games and watching practice sessions. Give someone your phone. Let them video what you are doing at practice sessions, at matches. And don't look at it really with just only a critical eye. Look at what you're good at. And you build on what you're good at. And look at what you could have done better in that session or in the match. And because I know, like right now, we've got access to all of these amazing, videos online. You've got these podcasts. You've got people that you can talk to, can ask questions. But when you're watching like a Pro League match or World Cup game, and you look at the technical or even tactical aspects that a certain player has, and you want to get better to be able to be like them, watch them, but also just make notes. I would love to be able to hit the ball on my backhand. I'd love to be able to throw a 50-yard aerial. And then you start having your own logbook of what I can do better. But don't only look at what you can do better. Look at what you do very well and make sure you keep learning and adding to that.
Oh, I think we become so key. Like, I'm so fed up with people just looking at analysing themselves and being like, just look at the bits which you're not very good at. At which point, you're only bringing the bottom up. You're not actually pushing your ceiling of like what makes you different. You then just become beige because if you only ever work on the stuff which you're not very good at, your ceiling stays here. Like, you don't become special.
Yep. I always say like, and again, Mike, I'm very much of the mental part of a player is really, really important. So look at what you're good at and always remember that, and you put that in your back pocket. So if you're a striker, I'll remember the one goal that I've scored that everyone's like, how did you do that? That stays in my memory forever. And I put that in my back pocket when I'm on the field and I'm not really feeling like I'm playing like myself. I can always look at that little bit in my back pocket and think, hey, don't forget who you are.
And I think that's good. Same for goalies as well. Like making the good, I think for goalies, it's making sure that you remember those super saves, but also having a think back to those games where you were just really good at stopping everything you should have stopped. Like, I think that's massive for
Yeah,
goalies.
and again with the goalkeeper, you remember the moments when you and your defense clicked, and you were just like all the pieces of the puzzle were just connected, and everyone was moving as you were speaking. Every command you gave, people moved. Those are moments that you need to keep trying to replicate over and over and over. So those are the things that you must remember. Don't just look at, oh man, I should have gotten that ball. I should have. No, look at the good. Remember your good, so that when you get back on the field, you work on that good being better,
Yeah.
so that no one can catch you, right? It's going to be your thing.
Yeah, and you look at, you take somebody like, any of the best drag flickers in the world. It's not like, oh, okay, I'm a really good flicker, but I'm just going to work on the thing that I'm really bad at. Actually, then you just end up being an average flicker. Like,
Yeah.
you've got to
Yeah.
push the envelope. Who's this? No idea. Tynham, TI_NHAM, 09. Obviously, 09 is important. It's a vague question. So the challenge is, can you keep it short and sweet? One piece of advice for any player to get better at hockey. Your one, like,
To get back?
to get
Or
better. Yeah.
Oh,
Best advice for
I
any
think it's an
player.
easy one, actually. I think it's very easy. I think best advice is, if you get yourself really good at the basic technical aspect of the game, you are really easy to work with as a player. You could come from my varsity and move to the UK and work with Mike, and you move to Belgium and work with Darren. You can move around, but if you can't push and stop a ball properly, you can't run with the ball, you can't pass the ball, it's difficult for coaches to want you in their side. And you want to take it one step further. Give yourself a specialist skill. Like we've been talking about the penalty corners. Are you the best lineman, postman on the team? Then I can't
By the
leave you
way,
out because I need you there.
if anybody wants to
I
be a
need you there.
great number one runner, that is instant selection into any team. Any team that I work with, if you're an amazing one runner, you're in. Like, simple as.
Yeah. So know the basics and know them really, really well, but then also give yourself an edge by being the quickest injector at the penalty corner. The best stopper. Ask any drag flick in the world who they want in their team. They'll tell you, the person that stops the ball dead for me every single time, I want that guy on the team.
Mm-hmm. And the guy that puts it on the money at rate, so he has time just to come in and flick.
Exactly. So just give yourself a chance by just give yourself one extra specialist skill. If you're a defender, goodness, if you can throw a 50, 80-yard aerial, it's difficult. It's difficult to press you. So it's difficult for me as a coach to leave you out of my system. So, yeah, I just think, technical skills are really, really, really good. I like really important, because from there, I as a coach can work with you. The tactical stuff, they keep changing, they're fluid. But if I can't believe that you're going to stop the ball when there's a striker behind you and you're the last man, I don't think I can have you on the field.
Nope. Yeah, you kind of got to be able to stop that little round white thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So, next question. This is quite a cool one. So, this is from Ollie. What's the pathway system like in South Africa, and pros and cons of the system? I know Ollie. He's an English guy and works within the English system. So, yeah, what's the pathway like in South Africa? What's good and bad about it?
Oh, well, I think looking at right now, I know we're working on getting an online education system also going, and I know African hockey is also on the same path. But if you're looking as a player, I think the system here is pretty straightforward. You play for your school, and then you make your district team, and then you're looking to make a provincial team, and then from there there's a week tournament. We'll have about 3 to 5, 60 selectors, and then you get selected into high performance groups. So that's the player pathway in that way for players. And then for coaches, we have our National Association level 1, level 2, level 3 course. And then once you have your level 3, you can apply for an FIH level 3, and then you build from there. But yeah, it's we've got public schools here and private schools, so it's where you are at the time, you might earn enough money to make a living off in a private school, and maybe not so much at a public school.
Jeddy's got a question. Let me just bring this up. So, advice for a coach who has a confidence-based player who's having a bad run of not scoring, getting chances but not converting. So, what advice would you give to the coach who's working with that player? So, not necessarily just for the player.
Okay. So you're looking at why and how they are not converting, right? So that's your job as a coach to look at, was it the skill choice? Was it the timing of the skill? What are they doing technically that is not allowing them to finish? And working on their confidence, you just bring them back down to basics. And we talk about, players must always feel like they're successful at things. So when they talk about the game, the player will tell you about, oh, but I missed this, I missed that, I missed that. You, as a coach, just always try to remind them about the good things they did in the game, while you are doing your own behind-the-scenes research. And again, I think video has changed the way we do a lot of things as coaches. So you look at the video and you can sit down with the player and say, listen, why did you choose to do this skill? Because had you chosen that, you're giving yourself a better chance. And again, missing goals, that's the bottom line. But why did you miss a goal? The goalkeeper make a great save. Yeah. Sometimes you give the credit to the keeper. Sometimes you give the credit to the defender. He came in at the right time, great angle, of approach, closed the space down, made everything difficult for you. So then as a coach, you look at those clips and you're like, listen, had you done ABC maybe differently, what options are then open for you? And then they might just start thinking outside of, I missed the goal. Yeah, that's fine. Failure is the best way to learn.
Definitely, yeah. And I think my other bit on that is the more situations you're put in which resemble where you're going to end up, the more confident you would have seen something similar to that in a higher volume of reps. So I guess for me it comes down to like a little bit of session design stuff. Like you say, if you've gone through the video and there's certain areas that they're not like nailing down, like recreate opportunities, not exactly that situation, but enough around the outside of it so that they can live in that moment. So when they get back to it in game time, it's fine. And be a little bit more specific in your training. And I think this is my kind of concern with small-sided game stuff is I love it, I use it a lot and it's great, but it has to have specificity to the group that you're working with, and you have to know exactly why you're doing those certain things. And I think I see too much of vague exercises happen, or they've seen another coach down the road do it, so I'm going to do it exactly the same, and they don't know why. So create scenarios and create trainings which actually really dig deep into your players and for them. Like, we do training to make them better. We don't do training to make us better. Like, it's about them ultimately. And I think that's another thing.
But again, it's about the why that you just said. It's why are we doing this specific small-sided game? Why have you introduced these specifications? Why is it a 2-touch only in the circle? Why are we doing that, coach? And I think when players understand why they're doing it, the learning becomes easier because they know which points they need to be hitting, right? And we often just, no, I'm the coach, you just carry on and do it. So that player, we're talking about the person that is maybe going through a bit of a slump in form. They must tell you, coach, I feel like every time I pull the ball just outside my right foot, I can't get it back to across the goals. And you're like, why do you think that's happening? Start engaging with your players mentally more than just thinking that they are the horse that needs to run the race for you.
Mm.
Ask them what are they feeling in that moment, because sometimes it's not even technical, right? It's mental.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, and if they and our role as a coach isn't just the technical, tactical. It is the psychological aspect. So how can we almost
Yep.
fill them back up with air and fill them back up with confidence so that they can just go and smash it? And particularly if, as Jenny said, it seems like they are a confidence-based player and I guess they have scored a lot of goals before, so
Hmm.
they know what it's like. So remind them of that feeling. Celebrate like mad as a coach when they score in training. Like, go to town on it. And I
Hmm.
think, yeah, act up a little bit to it. They'll feel good about it
Yeah,
because
and
coaches
maybe
seen you
put
score.
them in the area, put them in an area where they score what they call the easy goals.
Hmm.
The tip-ins, the tap-ins, far post, and maybe they're not the key striker in the next game. They become the support striker who's already in the 9-yard area,
Hmm.
there just to get that final little touch. Then you've got your first goal, and you're like, oh my goodness, I haven't scored in 4 games. You remember that feeling,
Hmm.
and now you want to replicate that feeling, right? But again, in practice, what are we doing in practice? And how are we upskilling the player? So, yes, you've got this player that can score goals in matches that are important and isn't anymore. Are they still feeling that they're being pushed at your training sessions?
Hmm.
And that's where it starts, right? It starts at home, on your home ground. Am I learning every time I'm there? Are your training sessions building on the experience, the skills, everything that they would want to go home thinking, geez, today I learned that. Are you still teaching players, or are you just going through the motions as a coach because you've arrived at the training session?
Yeah, and I think that happens. And I think that there's no coach in the world that can turn around and say, "Yeah, I've been perfect every single session." I think I'd love to
Mhm.
say that, but I'd be lying. Like, there have been sessions where I have had just to dig into my back pocket of sessions and pull something out and run with it. But then I've got the grey hairs now, and plenty of them, and the experience to sit behind. Okay, well, I know I've got this drill in my back pocket, but I can tweak and adjust it to suit my guys. And I think that's art. That's art in coaching, and yeah, experience, I guess.
I think that there's that big moment with coaches and players where you've planned this session, but they're not feeling it. Like it's not gelling. Everyone's like maybe a little down. And I know for us in South Africa, when the the cold starts creeping in, I know there's always a change in how the players arrive at practice, and sometimes just pull them in like, guys, we've got 25 minutes. I had this and this planned, but I feel like we should do something fun now. And they were like, yeah, cool. I'm like, well, there's this game that you guys really go mental for. Do we do that, or do we just go smash 150 balls at the keeper? And the keepers will always refer to say, yeah, smash balls at him. I'm happy. Let's go. And then I'll bring something in like, if the whole team does not celebrate a goal, we stop. We just just gonna warm down, go home. So every single time it hits the back of the net, that trickles over the keeper, we just make a big thing out of it. Because we must never forget that we're not getting paid tons of money to do this.
No.
End of the day, it's yes, I want to be learning and growing, but you also want to be having a flipping good time doing it.
Yeah. I
And
think
once we forget that as coaches, yeah, then you'll start seeing the attitude of the players change and like, oh gosh, I'm here. It feels like a chore, but it should never. It should never. I think we involved in the most exciting sport and one of the hardest sports to play. Right?
oh yeah,
Think about
for
you've
sure.
got 36 inches of this composite stick that you have to make part of your body and control this thing like you've had it since you were born. Oh, geez. Oh, at the end of that, there's this little white ball that I also need to manipulate. Like, have you
someone's
ever? And you
firing
know
a
what, people?
someone's
Have
firing a
you ever?
marble that's a giant marble at you at 95 kph, and
Yeah,
no.
and you are running at it. Eh? You're running at this ball. It's coming at you. You're going at it. I'm going to. Like, it's crazy what we do.
I've had this conversation
And
with
it's
someone
really criminal
recently.
that we don't have the money that our counterparts there at football have, because I feel like we do the most, Mike. We do the most.
It's when you boil it down, when you actually take a step back and look at it, it's like we play a weird sport. Like it's bonkers what we play,
Yeah,
but we love it, and we wouldn't do anything else.
exactly.
There's nothing else in this world that I would do. Um, Polo, this has been an absolute pleasure. Time has flown by. Like we are 50 minutes in. It has just gone like that. Yeah, thank you so much. Any last pearls of wisdom for the guys watching?
I think for players and coaches alike, actually, I think your growth is in your hands. You can't put it, can't hand it over to someone else, but you can get a team around you that will help you grow. But for you to take the next step, even as a national player, for you to be an international player, and as an international player to be one of those people that are in the FIH awards, it's all on you. Um, there can be really great people around you, but if you don't use your resources and use your time wisely and your want wisely, then you just got to be another player that put on their national kit.
Nice point to finish on. Polo, thank you so much. Stay safe.
Thank you, Mike. This has been incredible.
It's been a lot of fun, and definitely
Yeah.
when we can all meet up, we'll get the dream team on here as a trio. I'm not sure how much content we'll get done, but we'll have a good laugh.
Yeah.
And yeah, I look forward to catching up with you really soon.
Yes, and we need to catch a flight to India and catch that curry.
Yeah.
We owe each other one more great curry dinner.
Yep. And giant beers.
Yeah, Mike, thank you. This has been really, really so much fun.
It's been really cool, and thanks to the guys who have got involved in the chat. That's been really cool, and thank you to everyone on Instagram who put some questions in and stuff and got involved there. So yeah, thank you very much to everyone there as well. So nice. Right, I will see you later. Cheers, Bello. Bye.
Cheers.